Hi everyone, we are Amy, Wiki, Ziki. We are presenting ancient Chinese philosophy for week 3's presentation. Today we are gonna talk about some concepts and ideas for Xunzi's theory, and also we will include Confucian's and Mencius' perspective in this presentation. Here is a brief introduction of Xunzi. Xunzi's real name is Xun Kuang. He is best known as Xunzi, which is an honor title in ancient China. As a successful student of Confucius, he is one of the greatest Chinese philosophers of Confucianism, which is the Ruism. His primary study fields are human nature literally, and his studies has great impact contributing to the further development of Confucianism.
Confucius emphasized that individual born with no difference in human nature. Nature contains two possible tendencies, that is to be good or to be evil. Cultivation is what makes things different. But before we start discussing the question whether human nature is good or bad, we need to understand the definition of human nature. Is everyone think in the same way when we are talking about human nature? Confucius did not define the meaning of human nature, but both Mencius and Xunzi present their own ideas about this. So what if Mencius and Xunzi meet each other, and what would they say to each other?
Human nature is our innate kindness. It refers to the difference between human and animals. The essence of human nature distinguishes men and animals from the form of human nature. The form of human nature are sympathize, to feel shame and abhor, out of modesty and courtesy, and to tell from right and wrong.
Well, I think you are talking about the innate goodness is actually way. Way mean artifice. It is necessary for people to think and choose in order to achieve goodness. The degree of way represent the degree of goodness, and sympathizing, feeling shame, understanding what is right and what is wrong. All these actions require people to think and choose. So it should not be the definition of human nature. It's just way.
Well, then, how do you understand human nature? If it is not the difference between humans and animals, then what will it be?
From my point of view, I believe that human nature is detestable in result. I think that while people are born, they are simple in origin that is not good or evil. However, all the individuals will have desire. For example, desire for food, desire for warmth, and desire for rest. Since human beings have a natural tendencies to seek advantage and avoid disadvantage, satisfying their own needs is inevitable. But in the process of pursuit, because the material might not able to fully meet people's needs, so there will be competition, which make human nature detestable.
I don't agree with you because I do think that human nature is born with the sense of good. For example, the most callous human would feel alarm and pity seeing a child tearing over a precipice. That is because humans are born with the good.
But what is your definition of goodness?
As you know, the four roads of Xing are benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom.
Yeah.
I think the benevolence and righteousness can be the most important parts for goodness. The sprouts of Ren is a spontaneous feeling of compassion and commiseration within the human heart and mind, the locus of both cognitive and affective functions.
Okay, I hold a different opinion with you. I think propriety and righteousness are the most important part to achieve goodness. Ritual means deference and compliance, which correct the behaviors of people. And righteousness means shame and dislike that prohibits people from committing evil acts and regulate behavior. So ritual and righteousness come together to control people's material desire so it does not exceed what material condition of society can satisfy. Therefore, the pursuit of advantage within the scope of propriety is in line with righteousness.
Well, since we both set goodness our ultimate goal, how do you feel that the goodness should be achieved in a country?
I think it is important to meet the needs reasonably, but use ritual to restrain, as long as it is within the limits of ritual, so that the righteousness can be achieved, as well as the goal, goodness. Also, it is important to guarantee the power of the king, so that the king could able to govern the country well. For example, the king sacrificed to the founder of his lineage alongside heaven. The feudal lord do not dare to spoil. What is fitting for those great station is done on the grand scale, and what is fitting for those humble station is done on the small scale. People should do things within the scope of what they could do and what they're supposed to do, and not trying to do things that not belongs to their identities.
Okay.
And how do you think people should do to achieve goodness?
When you conquer others by force, they do not submit in their hearts. They submit because they are not strong enough to resist you. When you conquer others by virtue, they are pleased in the core of their hearts and sincerely submit. Compassion is essential to humanity along with the shame, modesty, and acceptance. We should extend our inner compassion to build the society. To conclude, as Mencius is known for the slogan "Human nature is good," while Xunzi is known for its opposite "Human nature is evil," Mencius viewed self-cultivation as developing natural tendencies within us. Xunzi believes that our natural tendencies leads to conflict and disorder, and what we need to do is radically reform them, not develop them. That leads to their different attitudes to the process of achieving human perfectibility. We listed some of their ideas below and hope that can bring some inspirations.
Mengzi perceives the kind side of human nature, while Xunzi sees how people are driven by their desire and selfishness as their evil side. Both Mengzi and Xunzi's theories make their points, but they are not comprehensive enough. Actually, human nature is very complex and dynamic. It's hard to identify as simply as kind or evil. I would like to introduce Sigmund Freud's psychological theory of personality to extend and conclude Mengzi and Xunzi's arguments. To briefly summarize, in Freud's theory, he points out that our personalities consist of id, ego, and superego. It represents our unconsciousness, which follows the pleasure principle. Ego serves for our desire, and it is the mediator between it and superego. Superego refers to our ideal and moral standard. Mengzi's perception of human nature is more like the superego part, while Xunzi's perspective is closer to the id. It's very interesting to connect ancient Chinese philosophy with Freud's personality theory. So that's pretty much everything we would like to share with class. Thanks so much for listening.